Hello my Australian friends. Now I feel the need to give you a little bit of advice regarding the track that Albanese and every other government that you have had recently are taking you down. If you can't tell by this accent, I am from the UK. I am from a country where the leaders have let in millions of immigrants over the last 20 years. To show you how many, in the year 2000 the population of the UK was estimated to be 58,886,100 people, and in 2024 the estimate was 69,281,400 people. And see the way it's all estimates because they really haven't got a clue how many people are in the country. There's well more than what they're saying. The natural population is not growing because many Brits are not having kids. In fact, the fertility rate in England and Wales was 1.41, and in Scotland it was only 1.25. It has to be 2.1 to keep a population stable, not including migration. The sad and obvious thing is many young British people just cannot get affordable and steady housing, which is making them not have kids. So instead of making it easier for young British people to get housing so they can start families, instead the UK has been pulling people in from all over the world and in massive numbers. And this has put even more pressure on housing. It has kept wages low. It has put incredible pressure on the NHS, which is creaking at the seams, and so many services that used to be available no longer are. The insane population increase has not been good for anyone except for landlords and employees. And what does that remind you of, Australians? The UK government used to say that they needed to let more people in to pay for the retirement of older people in years to come because the natural population was not growing. But now they are saying that the retirement age must go up because the country still doesn't have enough money, which it really doesn't. So now older British people are going to have to work longer to pay for the welfare of many of the younger people the government have let in. Now this may be a shock to you Australians, but not everyone who the British government are letting in are doctors and engineers. So the UK's government debt is out of control. And obviously, not all immigrants are bad. The vast majority are great people. But the country doesn't need any more great people. It doesn't need any more people. It's got 70 million of them. The population is far too high and everything is creaking at the seams. The UK was perfectly fine before this mass immigration experiment, and it was a much nicer place than it is now. Yes, the GDP is higher, yay, success for the government, wow. But no, it's not good because the quality of life for the average British person is much worse. Social cohesion is gone, and the most scary thing is that crime is getting out of control. Just 3 days ago, a man started hacking at people with a huge knife on a moving train in Huntingdon, UK. A few days before that, a local man was stabbed to death who was just walking his dog in his own town, minding his own business, and to see the footage of that with the poor dog cowering made me so angry. On October the 2nd, a man drove into pedestrians and started stabbing people at a synagogue in Manchester, and there have been so many incidents like this lately that it is frightening. But the one I find most heinous was the attack on a Southport dance class where a monster stabbed many young girls, killing 3 and maiming many more. And these are just the tip of the iceberg that are happening lately. There's been Manchester arena bombings, there's been other bombings on the tubes, there's been lots of problems. Now these things never used to happen in the UK, but now they are becoming normalised. And all of these crimes were committed by people who had either migrated into the country themselves or who are the offspring of someone who migrated into the country. Now think what that actually means to you people in Australia. The weak Albanese government tries to pretend that they are being careful by vetting people who come into the country, which is never really possible, believe it or not, because some evil people actually lie. I know it's hard to believe, but some of them do lie. And because it is very often the children of these migrants coming in who become radicalised or have no loyalty or respect for their host society, no matter how much vetting you do, you cannot vet someone who has not even been born yet. Just think about what that actually means, guys. So where does this leave Australia? Well, you have the weakest government and the weakest opposition in living history, in my opinion. You have a leader who has thrown the gates open to anyone just to keep his GDP figures and his Ponzi from collapsing. Obviously, the opposition aren't even bothering to get anyone worthwhile to oppose Albanese, because Albanese is doing the best job for them that they could ever imagine anyone doing. He is enriching them beyond their wildest dreams. He is prepared to let everything that was great about Australia be destroyed for his own benefit. He is happily concreting over Australian land containing endangered Australian wildlife just to let as many people into the country as quickly as possible, just to keep the charade going that he is doing a good job. Just look at this population increase under Labour during a housing crisis. This has caused rents to skyrocket and house prices to go to the moon. The poorest and the youngest are the ones suffering the most, as the wealthy landlords cannot believe how lucky they are. All Labour has to do is stop immigration, stop negative gearing, and stop the capital gains discount to level up the playing field, but they won't. They've got no intention of making things easier for the poorest. And to make things even worse, the leader and the housing and homelessness useless minister have just poured fuel on the fire with this harebrained 5% first home buyer guarantee scheme. Who would do that? And she's just come out with this.
With that one quote, this member exposes the fraud that is their attitude towards housing up to 2022. He suggests that before the change of government, there were no issues with housing.
The PM and I got pretty fired up in question time today when a Liberal MP said the quiet part out loud. The reason the Liberals didn't have a housing minister is not because Australia didn't have a housing problem, it's because they didn't care. Under them, house prices in Sydney doubled, rents skyrocketed, and a generation gave up on home ownership, and they continued to pretend there was nothing wrong. Our government's done something different. $43 billion on the table to build more homes, get renters a better deal, and get more Australians into home ownership. Meanwhile, the Coalition continuously show they are so much more interested in fighting amongst themselves than they are in doing anything about you and your life. Remember, they spent 9 years denying our country had a housing problem, the last 3 trying to block and delay key measures. I wouldn't trust them on housing or anything else that matters to you.
The sad truth is that the Australian housing market would have been in a much better shape without a housing minister if the housing minister is here. All she has done is pumped up an already inflated market. Now, I cannot decide if she is just extremely incompetent or just extremely cruel. It's not like we don't know what she really thinks, because she told us.
On all of those pieces
but
this
Minister,
week.
if house prices don't come down, doesn't that mean that this system is stacked against young people, that it's just not going to work for them?
Sure, and Dave, we may have a difference of view about this. I have a strong view. Our government's policies are not going to reduce house prices. We want house prices to grow sustainably.
So yes, my Australian friends, please accept this warning from someone who can see the track that your government is leading your country down. In the UK, people have finally woken up to the fact that Labour and the Conservatives are the same party, just like your Labour and your Liberals. They both just work to enrich the richest in society, and they have no real loyalty towards the country or its inhabitants. That is why the brand new Reform Party is now breaking all polling records in the UK, and at this rate will easily win the next election. Australia needs exactly the same thing to happen for its survival. The young people of Australia are being crushed by their governments, and they really do need to either get together and come up with a new party or vote for One Nation, because right now that is the only party who knows or are willing to admit what they can so easily see coming down the track. All you have to do is look at Melbourne if you want a taste of things to come. And when you look at Melbourne, think about what I was saying about vetting. So yes guys, I hope that normal Australians don't sacrifice their country just for capital gains. But the way it's going, it looks like many of the I'm alright Jack haves probably will. Now that's sad to see, because that means I actually care more about Australia than a lot of Australians do. And that makes no sense. This indifference to the suffering of others is what the government is relying on. So thanks for watching this video, guys. And if you want others to heed this warning, then please share this video on your socials. It's time to tell the political class in Australia that you do not want to turn into the UK, a country that is now considering taxing its people if they want to leave the absolute hellhole that the government has created. Just imagine how dystopian that is. The Australian borders need to be closed to new arrivals immediately, and a new plan put in place before it's too late for you guys. So good luck, Australians. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers for that.